Deltarune has been completely forgotten. Every time I see someone try to bring this game up, or whenever I see Toby Fox try and pretend that he worked on Toy Story 5 for attention, whenever I see people like try and say this is some relevant major deal, I just kind of like throw my head back and laugh. This is the goofiest thing the gaming industry has ever tried to pull. Like the mass psyop, the conspiracy, the narrative that Deltarune is like some instrumental, huge, like big name video game, when in actuality it is a complete nothing burger. Toby Fox is a shit composer. He's a shit game dev. He's a shit person. Like Toby Fox is everything wrong with the modern indie game scene. It is palpable to see just how the community at large has desperately tried to convince us that this is like some huge deal and something to look forward to. Nobody I know cares. Like, not a single person is talking about this game. Not a single person is hyped for it. Not a single person cares about the plot or the characters. And not a single person outside of a niche group of fringe internet weirdos, like, cares or thinks about Undertale or Toby Fox at all. Like, what we're seeing is a slow, gradual decline of a forced meme from 2015. Right? What we're seeing is just the natural, like, a death of a franchise and a series that nobody cares about, that nobody remembers, that really only has as much relevancy as it does because of online gamer culture at the time. Like, the simple fact of the matter is, the Undertale fan community, for a lot of these people, is just kind of the only thing they have in their lives. It's the only thing where they feel like part of a community, and it feels like they can like trying to meme this thing into relevancy is like their biggest goal in life. And that's why this handful of people have been so religiously like dogmatic about this. This idea that Undertale is like the future of gaming and like one of the biggest games ever made, when in actuality it's gotten mogged time and time again by other better games. And really, we're at the point now where I would argue we probably get like better games than Undertale on Steam every single day. Like that's just the reality of it. In that, in an actual unbiased situation, nobody would pick Undertale compared to like any other game that comes out. The problem with it is that like when you're a YouTube creator who makes like Undertale content or re-uploads Toby Fox's plagiarized music, what ended up happening back in the day was that you would get tons and tons of views from people playing the songs over and over and over again. Not because Undertale is so good, but because the general fan base are very unfamiliar with actual core video game soundtracks. So someone like me listens to dozens of different tracks from dozens of different composers, from dozens of different franchises. But, the average Undertale fan has no experience with that. And as such, like, Toby Fox is the greatest thing they've ever heard. It's kind of like, when, film watchers try and tell you that, like, The Lord of the Rings is better than the books. It's just, like, it's retarded. Like, nobody who read the book would ever think that. Like, nobody who has read the book would ever, like, take it that seriously. But film watchers are so delusional, so ignorant. Like, they're such Philistines that they don't even bother reading the book before coming to this conclusion, because to them what matters is the status and like the symbol of like being a fan of something that's popular, with no real regard as to like whether or not it's good or like the source material or like what else is out there. Like, no, these guys are fans of Lord of the Rings movies because it's the best there is. That's what we've been seeing from a lot of these people. Okay, like that's the kind of mindset that the Undertale fan base are in. Is that they're not fans of games, they're not fans of RPGs, they're not fans of Japanese media. It's some weird westernized like perversion of those concepts. You know, I've said this before, but like the entire notion about Undertale, the idea that like the monsters are friendly, it's inherently a woke subversive concept and it's something that people really don't like acknowledging. Like for some reason people really desperately want to pretend that Toby Fox is like apolitical and that like he didn't make Undertale with a with a political agenda in mind. That's very obviously not true if you know anything about him. Like again, it's Undertale to me seems like an attempt at trying to force like Western um, values and like propaganda onto like an unsuspecting Japanese public, you know, which is why he moved to Japan and why he's like speaking at all these like indie game conferences and why he's like, you know, talking about Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. Like this is an attempt at trying to influence the Japanese game industry to be more woke. And I don't know how successful he's been at that. It does kind of feel like, you know, wokeness in Japan has died before it even really took off. But um, the fact of the matter is, like, this is the real reason why the game was like pushed so hard and why so many people like worshipped it the way they did, because it is a simple example. It is just a giant psyop. You know, it has no real value as a product, as a game, but its intended purpose is to be a propaganda tool to try and gaslight people that, like, no, this is what players want. This is what gamers get fired up about. This is what people really love. You know, they like this kind of thing. And that isn't true. That's obviously not true. But again, the entire point of hyping up something like this, or you know, Expedition 33, or you know, Baldur's Gate 3, like all of it is to try and like normalize this kind of behavior for a mass audience, and it is something that I do think gamers need to more aggressively speak out against, and we're definitely getting to that point. But again, I do think one of the things we really need to do is kind of clarify what woke actually is, because people just kind of throw it out like a catch-all term for anything they don't like. But in actuality, wokeness is uh, a method of promoting Marxist values in a community, essentially. You know, it's a way of normalizing communist behavior and culture through propaganda, essentially. And the fact that like people, especially on Fox News, can't like explain such a simple concept really adequately explains how controlled and how corrupt and how worthless these people are. Like they are very, very, very eager to make this like the general accepted like culture. You know, like the belief in the establishment today is that like liberal values today will be like the conservative values of 10 years from now. And I do think one of the most important things for us going forward is to acknowledge that and just put a stop to it. Like, you know, just completely eradicate the idea. And we're definitely in, like, you know, when it comes to like wider culture, we're definitely doing that. That's definitely becoming a thing. You know, you're seeing a lot more pushback towards like homosexuality and women's rights and like, you know, all these like things that were just like really put on a pedestal by the establishment for decades, really. But when it comes to like gaming specifically, it hasn't really hit the mainstream yet, and I would argue it doesn't really have to. But you know, considering I'm a super enthusiast and considering what's been going on like in the community and considering how certain people won't shut up about Undertale, it does need to be spelled out to people that this game is Marxist propaganda. It is a communist game. It is completely worthless. It has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. It's not fun. People don't like this game. Sans is a terrible character, and Toby Fox will never, ever, ever produce anything of value in his entire career.